Hello, I'm Aidan Whitney and this is my presentation on e-learning, panacea or placebo. Throughout this presentation we will look at what e-learning is, whether it is effective or not, as well as an overview of a piece of e-learning software I am familiar with. First of all, we need to establish what e-learning is. As you can see, Dr. Mark Bullen believes that this defines e-learning. E-learning is about using information and communication technologies to expand access to education and to enhance and transform teaching and learning. However, he also goes on to state that e-learning can be seen as a continuum, with traditional face-to-face learning at one end and fully digital learning at the other. This can show us that there is scope within e-learning for difference and a mixture of methodology, using what he calls blended learning, a mix of face-to-face and fully digital to achieve the best results. An example of this is to use a traditional face-to-face teaching technique to educate children in something new, and then use an e-learning tool to reinforce that learning in a more active way. Bullen then goes on to state that e-learning isn't just about throwing ICT into our regular lessons, it's about integrating and changing our lessons to get the full benefit from the technology. Rather than just asking a class to produce a piece of writing on a computer, the use of modern word processing software can allow for newspaper pages, brochures, flyers and posters, and other print media techniques to be used easily, so we can integrate these techniques into traditional learning. This allows a teacher to have access to more complicated techniques through the digital medium without having to plan for much wider lesson scope. E-learning brings with it certain advantages, some of which can be seen as key selling points when opting to use e-learning methods. One of the primary advantages is that not all students need to be sat in the same place at the same time. VoIP software allows for a teacher to speak to multiple students in multiple different locations at the same time, allowing a teacher in Wolverhampton to be talking to students in China, London, New York, all at once. This not only allows for education to be distributed globally, but can also allow subject specialists to directly communicate with students without having to constantly travel the world. For instance, an expert in biology could be speaking to students all across the world while sat in their own house. E-learning also works around people with different time constraints. People who may have different commitments can benefit more from e-learning by not having to be in the classroom at the allotted time, instead allowing them to access it at their convenience. For instance, if a task is set to be done on a particular day instead of a particular time slot, a person can complete it at the time of day that suits them best, which is likely to be different for each student. Some students might have children, and therefore they would like to complete the task whilst their children are at school, where others may have 9-to-5 jobs and would like to complete the task after they've finished work. This helps make education more accessible. Suddenly not being able to be in the classroom from 9 to 5 every day doesn't hold students back, allowing them to maintain their other commitments. This may stop people being put off from further education as adults, as it means that their education can fit around their work life. Another brilliant advantage of e-learning is that these methods allow for instant feedback, which can be beneficial to students as it allows them to receive their feedback immediately. Sometimes certain software will allow them to receive answers to questions as soon as they've given their answer. Rather than having to wait for a teacher to mark a set of given answers, the computer does it in an instant, allowing a student to see what they can do and what they need to work on much quicker, and prevent them from wasting time. If a student knows what they need to work on, they can go and work on it immediately, rather than having to wait 3 to 4 days for a teacher to mark it and then having to start their learning then. Whilst e-learning does have some good benefits, some of its drawbacks include that it can be implemented poorly based on a teacher. E-learning requires the skills a teacher needs anyway, teaching skills, but also requires additional digital skills to be integrated too. Some teachers may not have these skills, and so will unintentionally misuse e-learning software, or may not use it to their fullest potential. There are also cases of teachers not wanting to use e-learning software due to an irrational fear of it, due to them not having the skills to be able to use it properly. This can lead to e-learning not being used as much as it potentially could. Unfortunately, technical faults are a commonplace within digital practices and can greatly hinder e-learning. If a teacher were to set a task, any number of things could go wrong, from computers not working, to internet being unavailable, to the websites being used being unavailable as well. All of these problems are absent from paper, pens and textbooks. This could make planned e-learning activities grind to a halt, as technicians are needed to be called, and can lead to good lesson plans being abandoned due to the e-learning techniques and the technology not being available. From personal experience, I can say that this is a big drawback from e-learning, with computers and lessons being completely thrown away due to them not working, and good lesson plans not being used and having to use alternate ways of educating students. Occasionally, some sources of e-learning can be exploited by the students operating them. For example, if given a question from an e-learning source, a student could easily open up a web browser and search for the answer. This tricks the teacher into thinking that they know something when in reality they found the answer elsewhere. Rather than having the subject knowledge needed to complete the questions, they simply know to put the question into a search engine and find the results from there. Some software also has limitations that allow this. For instance, a piece of software may give students the correct answer after each question, at the same time may allow the student to go back and change their answers, resulting in a fake score of 100% when really the software has been manipulated. This can make a teacher again think that a student knows things that they don't. They're simply waiting to see what the correct answer is, going back, changing their answer, and allowing their teacher to think that they know something that in reality they don't. This piece of software is called Kahoot, and it's a piece of e-learning software I have chosen to look at. This web program is used to administer class-based quizzes, where a teacher can set up their own quiz and administer it to the class. The class used mobile devices, either their own or provided by the education facility, to answer multiple choice questions. Each student receives the question at the same time, and their speed in answering the question, as well as the correct answer, generates a score out of 1000. At the end of the quiz, the person with the most points can be seen as winner. This tool can be very versatile. It allows the teacher to create their own quizzes using their own stock of questions and answers, allowing them to create their quizzes based on which subject they are teaching, or use from the 10 million quizzes already created by the community. Whilst obviously some are likely to be unusable within the classroom, as this software is also used as a source of entertainment as well as education, a lot are created by teachers who allow their quizzes to be available publicly. For instance, maths teachers may create maths-based quizzes and allow other maths teachers around the world to use their quizzes. This means that the software can be set up quickly, with as little time as typing the search into the website and loading the quiz. I myself have first-hand experience in the setup of this software within the classroom, with it usually taking between 3 to 5 minutes to set up, as long as everybody has working devices and can connect to the nearest Wi-Fi access point. This is one of the most powerful tools Kahoot has to offer. It allows teachers to go back and look at the results of any quiz they've launched, and allows them to see each individual student's answers to each quiz. This can allow for a teacher to focus on individual students, seeing what they can or can't do, and further tailor their lessons to meet the students' needs better. For instance, if administering a history quiz, a teacher can see which question each student got right or wrong, for every question, allowing them to see who knows what, who doesn't know what, and exactly what each student needs to be able to fully fulfill 100% answers on these quizzes. This can also be used to create records. If Kahoot is used often, all of the results can be accessed from the beginning to track progress. It's a very powerful way of tracking progress and identifying gaps in knowledge, allowing a maths teacher to administer times table quizzes and see which student knows which times table, and see their progress from the start of a term to the end, whilst always being presented in a colourful, fun, exciting way that children are happy to use.